I was out on a walk one afternoon. I was going down to my local pharmacy to read some magazines and maybe buy a snack. Yet on my way there, I noticed a garage sale. I don't normally care about things like that, yet I figured I could spare a minute or two and look around. Who knows, might find something cool. As fate would have it, I did. I noticed an old Looney Tunes DVD. The case was rather old and worn. Some of the characters' faces seemed to have been ripped off, probably from some little kid or something. I used to love those things as a kid. I especially loved Wile Coyote. Plus, it said it had a special lost episode. Lost episode, I thought. Never heard anything about one of those. Yet when I asked to buy it, the owner said, "You don't want that DVD, dude." "Why not?" I asked. "The lost episode is..." He stopped talking as if in a trance, haunted by some horrible nightmare. I didn't really care. I mean, if it's bad, so be it. I still got plenty of other episodes to watch on it. In the end, I bought it from the guy anyway. He shook his head and frowned as I left. Geez, I said to myself, how bad can it really be? Later that night, I decided to watch the DVD. The rest of my family had gone to bed already. My brother and sister had to go to school early tomorrow. My mom had a tough day at work and basically crashed on her bed when she got home. And my dad goes to work at 5 a.m. So it was just me, myself, and I, watching some good old Looney Tunes. I put it in the player and soon enough the main screen came up with all the options. It looked cute enough. It had Bugs in the center munching a carrot, Wile and Roadrunner in the background on one side and Sylvester and Tweet on the other. Occasionally, Daffy popped up every once in a while trying to get on the screen. Yet when he finally does, Elmer Fudd shoots him with his gun. I noticed the lost episode had a section just for itself and I remembered how freaked out the guy was. Curious, I selected it. How terrible can it be? I remember thinking once again. The episode starts off as normal. The WB sign zooming up followed by that little do music. Then the title of the episode comes up. I Got Them All. I found that title a bit odd, but whatever. The title faded away. I was shown Wile Coyote, yet he wasn't running after the Roadrunner. In fact, I didn't even hear a meep meep. Also, those goofy scientific Latin names they usually put under him and Wile didn't pop up. Yet the most unusual thing was that it was nighttime in the desert. No Wile Coyote cartoon was ever shown with it being night. Wile just stood there, looking at the camera with a really sad and serious look on his face. No music playing. There's an orange glow coming from the left of him and I could hear what sounds like a fire near him off screen. He just stood there, looking at the camera, looking at me for about 15 seconds. Then he turned his head near the off-screen fire. The camera stayed on him so I couldn't tell what he was looking at. He looked back at me and then held up a sign that read, "You laughed at me." I didn't get where this was going. Then he spoke. Rarely does Wile ever talk, unless he's with Bugs Bunny. "You all said it couldn't be done," Wile said. "That I can't catch him. That destiny dictates that shall not be." I lifted an eyebrow, still wondering where this was going. Wile walked off screen. When he was totally gone, I heard something wet and squishy along with the fire. Wile walked back and looked at me once more, then lifted his hand. I gasped at what was in it. The Roadrunner's head. Wile laughed and proceeded to bite into the bird's decapitated skull. As he did, the scene flashed to Wile silhouetted by a full moon as he ran through the desert night. Back to Wile and Roadrunner's head for a moment, then back to Wile. Still only a shadowed outline of him. Then I see the Roadrunner sleeping in a nest. Wile walks toward him. Back to Wile, who was taking another bite of the Roadrunner's head, with blood dripping out of it. Then back to the coyote creeping up on the nest. He now stood right behind the sleeping bird. I could now see Wile's feet, blood dripping down near them as the sound of him eating the head is heard. Again, we flash back to Wile in the nest. Wile now holds what looks like a large knife. No way, I remember saying just before it happened. Wile jams the knife right into the Roadrunner's head, its blade coming out the front and piercing one of his eyes. For a brief moment, the Roadrunner twitches, then his body goes limp. Wile pulls out the knife by ripping it out of the top of the Roadrunner's head, followed by chopping off his neck. It returns to Wile in the head. He's still looking out at me. He tosses the head away and smiles. I was making a freaked out face, terrified and surprised at what I just saw. And then he said, "Surprised, I see. Well, what about this?" Wile reached for the side of the screen and moved the camera over to where the fire was, only to reveal the rest of the Looney Tunes characters' heads on poles. He walks over to the first one, Porky Pig. Just then, the scene goes to an image of Porky's body on the floor being cut open and his internal organs being ripped out by Wile's hands. Next is Sylvester. All we see in his scene is his decapitated head in a toilet, floating in the blood and water inside of it. Elmer Fudd. Only his hat is on the pole. The scene goes to him with his shotgun in his mouth, then his head exploding in a bloody, brainy mess, as what I assume was Wile firing it. Sam, shot with his pistols. Foghorn, skinned alive. Barnyard Dog, chainsawed to bits. I wanted to vomit with each new character introduced, followed by how they died. Soon enough, he came to Bugs. Bugs still had his whole body, yet he was impaled upon a much longer pole. His body was still twitching, its tip coming out of his mouth. The camera moved to the side of his head. His eyes moved to look at me. He tried to mutter something, yet couldn't. Wile then gets a knife and cuts one of Bugs' ears off. "Please, no more," I managed to say. I don't know how I made it this far without turning it off. "You want me to stop, huh?" Wile said. That sent shivers down my spine. Could he hear me? Could he see me? Wile went in to stab Bugs in the bottom of his spine, then lead the blade up to his neck. Blood gushed out of the new wound. I couldn't take it. I stopped the DVD, took it out, and broke it. "Stay lost," I said as I tossed it away. I didn't watch Looney Tunes for 2 months after I saw that. I was too afraid that episode would appear. I still am. I tried looking it up on YouTube, yet that, and no site for that matter, has it. I just pray nobody else has a copy of this DVD. Don't watch the lost episode. So that was the lost episode of Wile E. Coyote. It's always nice reading a new lost episode, and I haven't read this one before. Although sometimes it feels like it's just the same thing over and over again, where, a character kills the other characters in the show. I did like that they gave him the motive of how he never actually catches Roadrunner, but this time he did, and so he was just taking revenge, I guess, on people who said that he couldn't catch Roadrunner, but it doesn't really fit with the show, because I feel like Wile E. Coyote is a pretty chill dude. Whenever he does talk to Bugs, or whenever he's just there, he's pretty sophisticated and such. Actually, I think Roadrunner kind of just annoys him. Wile E. Coyote deserves better. Let me know what you thought of the story below. I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. I'm not sure why the original dude who was selling the DVD didn't just break it himself, instead of saying, "Oh, you don't want to buy that," but then selling it anyway. Like, he couldn't really need the money that much. It had to have just been a few dollars or something. But let me know what you thought of the story. And thank you for listening, and for answering the call of the night spirit.